Hi guys, good afternoon. Welcome to the Daily Neloo. Today I'm here with my friend Arjuna and we want to talk about being mindful of how we perceive thought leaders and influencers that we see on social media. So Arjuna, welcome to the show, and you have a really interesting story of how you even got down this path of mindfulness and being a teacher.
Well, one of the pivotal moments in my life when I was 19, I arrived at a hospital, dead on arrival. I was shot in the femoral artery where I bled to death at the scene. And this story or this experience has allowed me the opportunity to be in front of a lot of influential leaders and thought leaders and people that are making change and shifts on our planet.
Including yourself.
Yes.
Tell me what are your thoughts on these influencers and thought leaders, the way they come off as like not having any problems physically, mentally, and how what is the impact of that for the greater audience?
Well, just to be clear, there isn't anything wrong, or I have no judgment around how thought leaders and influencers present themselves on social media. We do know that based on your content and how you are perceived will increase or add value to your revenue streams. So I respect that. But I also know from talking to numerous thought leaders and influencers and just with the work that I do, that a lot of people perceive the way our thought leaders and influencers present themselves as if they're flawless, as if they don't go through similar stories, similar experiences. And I think what has happened is there's a disconnect that's not really talked about. So anyone watching this, I just want to say, trust your experience, trust your inner knowing. We have different words for it, your gut or the voice. And for me, having that near-death experience, that was something that stood out very, 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 very clearly. It's like, you already know. You feel it within. But again, based on all the new platforms and all the new leaders, a lot of times we put ourselves down here, them up here, and our gift, our truth, our knowledge that comes through that gives us the same insight that they're working with, but because we don't see ourselves in that realm yet, we doubt that.
Yeah.
We push that to the side and we take what they're saying to be more valuable than our own inner knowing. And that's something that I feel robs a lot of us of our power. And so,
yeah,
even this video, you can watch this and feel inspired. These are just my words. This is my experience. If it resonates, great. But take your own truth and see where you can find the balance and where you can add value.
Do you think that these leaders have the same limiting beliefs and thoughts that all of us do? And if they do, what are they doing differently that allows them to live a more seamless life, more smoother life?
Something that I've seen across the board, yes, they're human beings, and no one is exempt from having a human experience. So if you are here in this world, you experience pretty much all the feelings, emotions, and situations that every other human being has. Now, what I've noticed to be different amongst the leaders and influencers that I have the privilege to encounter is that when these thoughts come up, we've trained our mindset to be aware when these limiting beliefs or doubts or self-doubts or whatever it is arises in us. We are just very in tune. And so from that perspective, you're able to call it out. You're able to push through it. When you don't have this as a daily practice and it's not a continuous awareness of how you show up in the world, it's easy to allow those stories or limiting beliefs to come in, and then you find those moments to be true. You believe in them. You find yourself under the power of those stories.
And those thoughts, yeah.
And thoughts. Now, like I said, Shetty or Tony Robbins, Eric Thomas, Preston Smiles, for example, these guys have trained themselves to just be aware of the stories and know that they're limiting. They're not who they are. We're not our thoughts. We're not our emotions. Which is interesting because at the same time, you can become your thoughts.
Right. But you can deliberately choose the thoughts that you want
to become,
to give more power to, and expand and create in your reality. And the really important thing to note is anyone has this ability.
Anyone.
To train their mind, right? Jay just does a really good job at it, and he's a really great role model. But I think one thing that, over the years we've seen, there's been a lot of discussion about, influencers, especially on Instagram, how beautiful they are all the time, and their perfect makeup, perfect hair, and it's not realistic. But what we haven't really talked about is the perfect mindset that's also put out there by a lot of the thought leaders, right?
Yes.
And that can also feel unrealistic if we're not able to see the human behind
Yes.
the screen.
And just to clarify on that, what we perceive or what's being put out, the idea is to create a consistent way of thinking in this realm of mindset and change and being an influencer. So you will see a lot of content that only shows this elevated thinking, because for someone who's not there, that's how you get there. It's a practice to stay in that frequency. But at the same time, if you don't have that awareness within yourself, it's easy to see someone like Jay Shetty or Tony Robbins and assume that, wow, if I can't personally ask him this question, I don't think he deals with this. And then you put yourself in a certain box, and then you start judging yourself, and you start looking at yourself, and then you blame yourself for not being able to have these skill sets and be at that level, which is a myth and it's not true. Anyone can acquire these mastery skills if you actually put in the work, and it's really about the practice.
Thank you so much, Arjuna, for being here. I think this very, very important perspective to share, I believe.
Well, thank you, Neloo, for the opportunity and including me, and I'm just honored that you asked.
And if you guys actually want to hear the details of Arjuna's story, we did a podcast with him a few weeks ago, so I'll link that below. And that's it for today, and I will see you guys tomorrow.